I'm going to step back so you can see. No smoke and mirrors here. I've seen people who've lost weight on standard diets and then they keep uploading, but they just only show the top half, right? They stop showing their lower portion because they don't want you to see that they've put the weight back on. And they keep doing videos and they keep acting like if the diet they did really worked. Now, the safe amount of weight that they tell us we can lose in a week is 1 pound. But I lost 70 pounds in 5 months, which is 3.5 pounds per week. There's two things I want to point out here. First of all, most normal people want to lose their weight as fast as they possibly can, like I did. But the second thing I want to point out is that I did this in a healthy way. So why does medical advise us that you should only lose 1 pound, max 2 per week to do it safely? It's because most people who lose a lot of weight in a week are doing some kind of crazy restrictive way of eating. Like maybe they're keeping their calorie count super low, like under 500 a day, or they're even just skipping meals and just not eating every single day, which on a standard American diet, that means that you're extremely hungry. And guess what? That's absolutely not sustainable. But you want to know what's sustainable? Eating so much food that you can't finish what's on your plate. But that typically leads to weight gain unless you only eat what your body is asking for. Now, I know you just said, I already do that. But in fact, Wellness Warrior, you don't. What we don't realize is that the reason we're constantly hungry is because we keep eating carbage. Okay, so for those of you who are new here, I'm Violet, and 6 years ago, I lost a bunch of weight because I did keto, and it completely changed my life. Like, you can't even imagine. And I want that for every single wellness warrior watching this. I want you to, I can't even, you don't know how much I want it for you, but I do, because I was where you were. I remember eating all the carbage and expecting my weight to go down because I was low calorie. By the way, carbage is high sugar foods. That means bananas, chocolate bars, even rice. In our body, they turn into sugar. And I thought that if I just kept my calorie count low, that was going to make some kind of magical difference. But you know what? It doesn't. Because why? Because our bodies make all the sugar that we need, right? And it's frustrating because it gets pissed with us. It's going to send us back out to get food because every time it asks us for protein and fat, we keep giving it carbage because it's lower in calories. Sort of like when you send your husband out to get romaine lettuce because you want to make a Caesar salad, and then he comes back with iceberg and he's telling you like, oh, it's the same thing. Stop complaining. It's not the same. When we give our body what it asks for, then it stops nagging us for food. Why? Because it's satisfied and it can now do what it's trying to do, right? If you had romaine, you'd be making the Caesar salad rather than jumping in the car to go get it yourself. Now, what would happen if you ate a meal and you were actually satisfied because you gave your body what it was asking you for? Surprisingly, a bunch of good stuff happens. Those building blocks that your body was asking you for were to repair and rebuild you. And that leaves you feeling amazing, first of all. And it also means that any kind of medical problems that were brewing inside get taken care of. And the fats give you great energy so that you can actually work, finish on time. And then when you're home, you're talkative so that your spouse and your kids at the end of the day get the best version of you. And you maybe even have some energy to play with the kids. And I know for sure that my family is so happy that hangry Violet doesn't exist anymore. By this point, I know that you're trying to figure out what the catch is. Does it taste horrible? Is it ridiculously expensive? There has to be a reason that's going to ruin our ability to do this. Hand on heart. I have spent less in the last 5 years on groceries than I've ever spent in the years before that. And the years before that, it was 2 adults, 3 preteen to like tweens to teenagers. Now we're talking about 5 adults, and I spend less on groceries. And there's only one reason for that. I'm buying less carbage. Most of what I buy is meat. So here in North America, Americans eat 350 grams of meat daily, while up here in Canada, we listen better to our food guides, and so we only eat about 240 grams daily. If you consider the money that you're already spending on side dishes, fruits and vegetables, snacks, ultra-processed foods, if you just stop buying snacks and ultra-processed foods, you could easily transition that money into buying more meat. And the benefit that gives you is that when your body is asking for food, it is actually asking for meat, fish, poultry, eggs. That's what it wants. Okay, so here we are. This is the one thing that I did 6 years ago that changed everything. I committed to eating keto meals. By taking snacking out of my life completely, I lost all the extra weight that was hanging out on my body. That one change got me to focus on what my body actually needed me to provide, protein and fat. Now, yes, I was eating some vegetation, but the amount that was coming in was such a small amount that I was able, and my body was able, I'm acting like I did it myself, my body was able to stop gaining weight and actually start healing me. And the fact that snacking, I learned, was actually harming my body, because every time we snack, our insulin goes up and all the problems that come from that. When I realized that removing snacking was going to be the big change that stopped me from harming myself, that stopped me from gaining weight, that stopped me from being confused about why my body couldn't. No one tells us that our insulin resistance is really a sign that our body is inflamed and that every bit of sugar we eat is causing harm. Every little bit. So figuring out that sugar was pushing my insulin resistance and causing my inflammation problem, and that even the small amount in vegetables could trigger it to be worse, helped me to understand that 100% snacking between meals wasn't helping me. That was the true aha moment. And I haven't eaten more than 20 grams of carbs in a day since I learned that information once, where it ended there. And 6 years later, I'll tell you that for my health, it's the best decision I've ever made. I've maintained my goal weight, and my health is amazing, right? I feel strong. I'm able to live my life and do the things that I want to do. We're so trained to believe that weight loss can't be maintained, but that just simply isn't true. All the other times I've ever tried to lose weight, I put it back on typically within the year. I've lost 50 pounds before. I've lost 30 pounds before. I've lost lots of weight. If you add up all the weight that I've ever lost, I've lost 2 or 3 people, but I always put it back on within the year. And as I said earlier, I put more on my plate than I can eat, and I'm not afraid to eat right up to the edge until the point where I'm saying I can't put another bite in my mouth. And yet, my weight is this, right? It's not moved. Believing that we can't maintain weight loss messes us up, because we don't stick to anything long enough for it to really work, first of all. So for those of you who have a hard time losing weight and you start something, like let's say you start keto and you're not the person where you lose weight in, 70 pounds in 3 months or whatever. What if you're the person that it takes 2 years to lose 70 pounds and you are actually doing keto? We're much more likely to either quit or try to add extra things. And I'm going to do IF and I'm going to go to the gym and you start adding things. And I honestly feel like maybe that's what causes us to go off the rails, because eating differently than everyone else is hard enough. But if I'm trying to force myself to go to the gym, or I'm trying to force myself to fast, or I'm trying to force myself to do things that aren't natural to me, I'm much more likely to not follow through. And maybe I end up not doing any of the things. So maybe I'm not even eating on plan anymore. And what about those of us who make it to the point where we've lost weight? What would have happened if 6 years ago, when I got to goal, I was like, all right, I'm done, and I can just go back to eating carbage? I would have been in a bad situation, honest warrior. I would have put the weight back on. Why? Because my body was asking for protein and fat. And I would have been, again, giving my body carbohydrates, excessive amounts of carbohydrates. I was keto for a full 6 years, and my weight was stable. I've gone carnivore because I want to make sure there are no toxins coming in. I want to make sure my body is the healthiest it can possibly be. Have you ever noticed that if you happen to have a cheat day or bring carbage back for some reason, you don't just have one serving, you kind of go nuts? Because I've been in scenarios where I have some nuts and next thing you know, I'm eating nuts and I'm out of control. I've been in the situation where I accidentally go over my carb count and now I'm chasing and like I want to eat. We don't have the control over what we're eating that we think we have. And it's even worse than that. We're told we have control over things that we actually don't have control over, because the powers that be want us to touch these things because it makes them money, right? If I keep eating cookies, keep eating chips, keep eating chocolate, then, well, I'm going to need an exercise routine. I'm going to need special meals. I'm still eating the junk food, so they make money. And then I'm going to need medication and I'm going to need... So we end up struggling, whether it's while we're eating on plan because we can't wait to get to the point where we don't have to do this anymore, or if we actually allow ourselves to have cheat meals and then don't understand why our body fights with us to get back on track. And then sometimes that causes us to be willing to do just about anything to get back on track. And we start forcing fasting and forcing the gym. And honestly, Wellness Warrior, there's only one thing that you need to do that's going to help you to get all of this under control. And that's eat on plan meals. If you give your body meals and keep those carbohydrates low, your body will kick in and do the rest. Living your life at a healthy weight isn't a secret, Wellness Warrior. The problem is your body wants to be at a healthy weight, as did mine, but we don't eat what it's asking for. Not because it's our fault. It's because the world tells us that carbage is the way to go. Start with eating real food, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and allow your body to amaze you. For me, that was 3.5 pounds lost every week until I was at my goal. What's the right amount that's going to be your weight loss? Actually, put it in the comments below. When you are eating healthily, how much do you lose per week? And just be happy that you're losing, by the way. Most of us are year by year gaining weight until we figure this out. So it's important for us to celebrate if I'm losing half a pound per week, a pound, 2 pounds, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm losing, even if I'm maintaining, that's still a win because most of the world is gaining. And if you haven't started feeding your body a healthy keto or carnivore diet yet, this is the video that I want you to watch next. So click on the link. I'm going to meet you over there.